research shows that about 1 in every 100 women in the U.S. may have a bleeding disorder that goes untreated.
And that's why a group in our area is working to give people the answers and relief they need. Joining us from the Western Pennsylvania Bleeding Disorders Foundation is Kara Dornish and Samantha Short, along with Ashley Lynn Priory, who has utilized their services. So happy to have you all here to talk about this very important issue. We know with women's health, sometimes we don't feel heard. Things can go a long time without being diagnosed, and that's kind of the importance of this organization, to make sure that women are heard and diagnosed appropriately.
Yes, it's a huge misconception that women can't have bleeding disorders. The truth is that women can have hemophilia, they can have von Willebrand's disease, and von Willebrand's disease actually affects men and women equally. But the symptoms are often not recognized by medical professionals. Common symptoms like heavy nosebleeds, frequent unexplained nosebleeds, periods that last longer than 7 days, bleeding through your pads once every hour, easy bruising. Those are symptoms that are not normal and could be a symptom of a bleeding disorder.
Wow.
And like you said, we know on average it takes 16 years longer for a woman to get diagnosed.
Yes. 16, you said?
Yeah, 16 from the onset of symptoms.
And you've dealt with a bleeding disorder.
Absolutely.
And so what was that journey like? Because I'm sure it took a long time for you to get diagnosed. And how did it affect you?
So any preteen will tell you going through puberty is difficult. For me, going through puberty with a bleeding disorder was even more so. My periods were lasting upwards of 3 months at a time and were uncontrollable. But I was really lucky because I had a physician that knew the signs and symptoms of a bleeding disorder and was able to get me tested and treated. So now I can live a full life without worrying about my bleeding disorder daily.
Is it okay if I ask
Sure.
you what you were diagnosed with?
Sure, I was diagnosed with von Willebrand's type 1.
Okay.
Like Kara said, it's the most common bleeding disorder that we have now. We estimate around 5% of the population has it.
My cousin actually had it, and I remember my family going through this whole process of trying to get her a diagnosis. And you're right, when you start to say, oh, I have a heavy period, you're kind of just, oh, well, you know, you're going through puberty, you're a woman, this is normal, it's natural, everybody's different. Ashley, for you, what were you going through?
I had something very similar. I would have such bad periods that I would go through Super Plus tampons within an hour, 2 hours, continuously changing them through the night. It was awful. I could not go out and do things. And finally, I talked to my gynecologist, and she said, you should maybe get tested for this. Even though for years I had been going to the doctor and saying, this doesn't feel normal.
Right.
They would just say, well, you have a heavy period. You come from heavy periods, you know, that's what it is.
It's just part of it.
It's just part of it. And then when I actually got diagnosed, it completely changed my life, because I was like, wow, I can live a normal life, have energy, and not continuously worry about if I'm just going to bleed out during my period.
Right, yes. Oh my gosh.
And I'm just curious, what adjustments have you had to make? Just the day-to-day, something that we would take for granted, not having this disorder. What does that look like for you?
Yeah, I mean, I was always tired, like continuously tired. And I attribute it to work, to school, to running around doing different things. But it's not normal to always be tired, to always feel run down. And that was the biggest sign. And my parents were like, you need to get this checked out.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the foundation and what you're doing to reach more women who are going through this?
Yeah, so we're with the Western Pennsylvania Bleeding Disorders Foundation. One thing that we're doing is a period pack project. So we have amazing volunteers who we team up with who put together period packs, which we then distribute to local school districts, universities, and rural health clinics. And inside the period packs, we put the symptoms of bleeding disorder and where they can go if they have the symptoms, and to take an online risk assessment to see if they're at risk. And it's betteryounknow.org. So we're spreading the word that if they do have these symptoms, definitely talk to your medical provider, let them know. Oftentimes medical professionals will not be familiar with bleeding disorders because they are rare.
Yes.
But we're very lucky in Pittsburgh, we have the Hemophilia Center of Western Pennsylvania, which specializes in this, and you can always call them to make an appointment.
Wonderful.
Well, thank you, ladies, for spreading awareness and for being here.
Just to have this in our backyard is so wonderful. Thank you.
Amazing. All right, if you would like to learn more about the Western Pennsylvania Bleeding Disorders Foundation and the services they offer, we will have the information for you on our website.